The Bruins are synonymous with the city of Boston, but that almost changed during the dying days of the Boston Garden. We caught up with team insider Joe Haggerty at the Boston Sports Institute in Wellesley to talk about one of the Bees' biggest what-ifs, a proposed move to another New England state.
From what I had heard, they struck a deal with New Hampshire to go up there, build a complex. They were going to have tax breaks, all kinds of stuff to go to Salem, New Hampshire.
The proposal, which might have had the Bruins relocating to Salem's Rockingham Park in the 80s, was seen by some as a done deal. It never happened, of course, but what if it had?
If I lived in New Hampshire, I would have thought I won the lottery. If the Boston Bruins were all of a sudden there, I would have thought that would be fantastic. And it probably would have changed, you know, how many hockey players, youth hockey players there are, playing in Massachusetts if that team moved to New Hampshire. And maybe you would have saw a huge boon in hockey players in New Hampshire and less in Massachusetts.
And would they still be called the Bruins? Or something else?
Would they be the New Hampshire Firecrackers? Would be the New Hampshire Tattoo Parlors? Would they be the New Hampshire Packies Open on Sundays because of the blue laws? I don't know. It would have been really interesting.
4 decades later, similar questions surround the Garden's other tenant. Will the new owners of the Boston Celtics pack up the parquet for greener pastures?
If I were the proverbial betting man, I would bet that they will make it happen. That this is going to happen. The fact is that they want to get their share of the concerts too. There's only so much concert money that's going around.
But such a move doesn't come without a warning.
If they're interested, they better start now because it's going to take a long period of time. There's a lot of things that don't work easily, and placing an arena or a stadium are one of those things that don't end up being an easy problem to solve. If you're going to think about it, you do it now because it's going to take you much longer than you ever think.
But if it's up to Charlie Jacobs, whose family owns both the Bruins and the Garden, the Seas will stay right where they are.
I've had a chance to meet the new group. They're great people, and I can't. This is hard for me. I'm obviously, again, very biased, but I believe the Celtics belong here. Their banners are hanging on our rafters, as they should, and we hope that they continue to do so for another 100 years.
In the meantime, as the TD Garden hits a milestone age, Jacob says there's plenty of life left in the building many fans still call the new Garden.
The old Garden here, about 70 years. Here we are at 30. Where is it in its lifespan, do you think?
So I think we're brand new. I'm, of course, incredibly biased, but every year we're doing something new here at this building. Every summer there's a new project that's happening. If you come here to the Boston Garden, I think you'd be hard-pressed to say this building's 30 years old, because frankly, if you looked at any inch of this, it isn't. It's been touched in the last year or two.
And we did check in with the Celtics about speculation that they may leave the Garden when their lease is over in 10 years. They can't do that.
Well, they referred us to the comments previously made by the new Celtics owner, Bill Chisholm, who has said he likes the Garden, thinks the Celtics and the Bruins should be together, and wants the fans to have the best experience possible. We shall see what happens.